The video begins with the news on TV, which talks about what kind of crisis has come in the world. There was lawlessness in all cities, people robbed ATMs, and then went to a rally at which people were against the new presidential elections in which the president was elected dishonestly. Only 22% supported this president. The next day came and the president spoke to the people. He said that the world was threatened by aliens and that to fight crime he created a squad of superheroes, which included Captain Atom, Black Lightning, Power Girl, Katana, and Major Force. Immediately after this conference, a racer was found in the city and a chase began for him, for a lot of police cars were chasing the racer, and the whole chase was filmed by a helicopter that broadcasted in the news. The racer could easily escape from the police because his car was much more powerful. Even the helicopter could not catch up with him. Suddenly, some unidentified object flew past the helicopter at such a high speed that even the helicopter was slightly thrown aside. This unidentified object was flying behind the racer. Suddenly, a traffic jam formed in front of the racer, but when the racer noticed him, it was already too late. He was about to crash into him, but suddenly the car flew up and flew. It turns out it was Superman. He put the car on the ground where a squad of superheroes was already waiting for him. The police tied up the racer, and Superman began to communicate with the squad of superheroes. They began to discuss the president whom Superman despised, but the squad tried to kill him because this president did a lot for this country. For example, he normalized the economy. The crime rate decreased, but Superman thought that the president was plotting something evil, and Superman said that he would never respect him in his life and flew away. Meanwhile, the president was at the control room. His assistant informed him that a meteorite was approaching the Earth, which consisted entirely of kryptonite. Kryptonite is the only substance that could affect Superman. If you present it to Superman, he lost his power and became completely powerless, and this meteorite flew to Earth, thereby threatening its destruction. The president wanted to destroy it with missiles. The president addressed the people and told them that a large meteorite was flying to Earth. He also turned to Superman and asked for help to destroy this meteorite, but Superman could not do it because kryptonite was his weakness. Superman was together with Batman at their base and they discussed this meteorite. Superman flew away, and in the meantime, the president arrived at the airfield and he was waiting for someone. It was Superman. They discussed a plan to destroy the meteorite. The president said that Superman would work for him, but Superman refused. Suddenly, Superman became ill. It turns out the president brought with him a man who had kryptonite. Superman became ill and his strength weakened. Superman, I was able to blow up this man who consisted of kryptonite. But this man came out of the fire. But more precisely, it was not a man, but a Terminator. He began to beat Superman because Superman's strength weakened and he could not do anything. The Terminator grabbed Superman and was about to kill him when Batman suddenly flew in and was able to detain the Terminator for some time. But the Terminator got up and shot Superman with a piece of kryptonite. This piece hit right in the heart. Batman was able to blow up this Terminator and he had time to get a piece from Superman, but it was too late. Terminator recovered and buried them underground. Fortunately, Batman had explosives with which they were able to blow up a passage underground, and a sewer was carried out underground into which they fell. A fragment of kryptonite was still in Superman's heart, and Batman dragged him to his secret hideout where Superman successfully removed the fragment from hearts. Superman went down to Batman, where Batman watched the news in which the president talked about how bad Superman was and provided the footage he provided so that Superman went crazy and attacked the president, but his assistant stood up for the president, but Superman beat him. It was all a lie that the president invented. The president, he promised a large sum for the murder of Superman. He explained to the people that the state could not do this because the state was solving the problem with the approaching meteorite. The appeal to the people ended and everyone left the president's office. He opened the locker of his desk in which there was a gun that was filled with kryptonite liquid. He wanted to destroy Superman. Meanwhile, Batman was hacking into some kind of space laboratory. Superman joined him late. They entered the laboratory. Batman began hacking the system, and Superman smelled a suspicious smell. They went to this smell, and he led them to the corpse of the Terminator who had recently tried to destroy them. Suddenly, the guards burst into the laboratory, and Superman and Batman, I had to fly away. Suddenly, someone shot ultrasound at them. It was a villain who could produce ultrasound. Batman was able to land safely, and Superman continued to fight her. It turns out that the villain was not alone and her team was waiting for Batman on the ground, and when he landed, they attacked him. Superman lifted the villainess into space where she couldn't breathe and lost consciousness. He coped with her and helped Batman get rid of the villains. But that wasn't all. Suddenly 2 strong monsters came out of the fog. They attacked the superheroes and easily overcame them because they were bigger and stronger. But Superman and Batman were able to defeat the villains, as Superman and Batman were stronger and smarter. Superheroes realized that someone had hypnotized the villains and they knew who could do it. It was Nightshade, but she couldn't be here. When suddenly someone attacked Superman again, it was Nightshade and she wasn't alone. A huge gorilla was sitting on the roof, just waiting to tear someone apart. While Superman was fighting Nightshade, Batman was able to defeat the gorilla. Superman was also able to defeat Nightshade. They were about to leave as soon as another group of villains came out of the forest and they headed for the superhero. Batman and Superman were able to easily defeat them. At the end of the battle, a squad of superheroes flew to the superhero, but they did not come to save the superheroes and to arrest them. Meanwhile, the president arrived by helicopter at the secret base where the missiles were located. At the same time, Superman and Batman refused to surrender to the superhero squad and a fight began between them. The superheroes began to lose, and then Superman created a tornado that sucked in the entire squad of superheroes who worked for the president. While the squad recovered, they had already flown away. Meanwhile, the president was at a secret base where he was informed that there would not be enough missiles to shoot down a kryptonite meteorite that was getting closer and closer to Earth, but the president convinced them that they would succeed. At the same time, Superman and Batman were sitting on the roof with a kidnapped girl named Power Girl, but before they could talk to her, a squad of superheroes flew up to them and immediately attacked them. Now Power Girl was fighting on the side of Batman and Superman, and together they were able to defeat this squad. Meanwhile, missiles were being prepared for launch at the secret base. They were successfully launched and all the people at the secret base began to applaud. These missiles were supposed to fly through the portal and immediately fly into the meteorite. They exploded about the meteorite and everyone already thought that they had succeeded in destroying it. But when the meteorite flew out of the smoke, everyone realized that they had failed, and the meteorite flew up to the Earth is getting closer and closer. At that moment, Superman and Batman were watching this secret base. They wanted to find out in the laboratory what level of radiation is in the meteorite. They were about to enter the laboratory when suddenly someone attacked them. It was Captain Marvel and the Hawkman. In order to get into the laboratory, they had to defeat them. Superman and Batman was easily thrown around, but they could not give up because they had been through a lot and they were able to overcome them. Meanwhile, the president addressed the citizens. He said that the first rocket launch was a test and he would soon come up with something else. But it was too late. There was panic on the street. Some people were already robbing stores to prepare food in case the apocalypse came. The assistant to the president went into his office, and when she went into it, she saw how the president was injecting himself with something. It turns out he was injecting himself with kryptonite liquid to be stronger. The president said that he was not going to stop the meteorite. He wanted the meteorite to crash into the Earth and kill several billion people, and he would capture the whole of the world. The president went out to meet Captain Marvel and Hawk, but when he approached them, he realized that it wasn't them. It was Superman and Batman. They just changed into costumes. Suddenly Superman felt bad. He didn't know that the president had kryptonite instead of blood, which took away his strength. They wanted to take important files about the meteorite, but the president started deleting them. Suddenly, the assistant to the president came out to them. She took their side and handed over a flash drive with information about the meteorite, and now they could save this world. They flew out and the president, seeing this, ran to his office where he injected himself with another dose to become even stronger. He put on a suit and burst into the corridor where a lot of soldiers were waiting for him. He easily coped with them and went after superheroes. Meanwhile, Superman and Batman arrived at the secret laboratory that belonged to Batman. A Power Girl came out to meet them, who was already waiting for them. They entered the building and a boy with a jetpack flew up to them. He took a flash drive to prepare a huge rocket for launch to save the world. Power Girl was guarding them all this time when suddenly the president burst into the building. He was able to throw her off and pass on. The superheroes were almost ready to launch when suddenly the president burst in and scattered the heroes around with ease. He destroyed the computer with which it was possible to control the rocket, and now it was impossible to launch the rocket. Batman decided to take control. He climbed into the rocket and started launching the rocket. The president saw it and tried to prevent it, but Superman did not let him do it and the rocket was successfully launched. Meanwhile, Batman was already flying up to the portal that led to the meteorite. At the same time, Superman was chasing the president to destroy him because he thought that the president had killed Batman. He was able to shoot him down. Batman was already flying up to the meteorite. He crashed into the meteorite, destroying it, but unfortunately he died along with this meteorite. Superman saw this and hit the president with all his might, and he flew into the building. Superman went into space to try to save Batman, and when he got close to the rocket, he saw that Batman was alive. Superman successfully landed Batman on Earth, and all the people thanked him for saving the world. The president was put in prison, and humanity was saved.